Hey, Millionaire University listeners, are you sitting on a nest egg of at least $30,000 and dreaming of breaking into real estate investing? Flip Cheap Houses is revolutionizing the game, and they're looking for partners just like you. Real estate investing can sound risky and time-consuming, but that's where Flip Cheap Houses turns the tables. They've got the finances covered, the properties lined up, and even the contractors on speed dial. All they need is your eyes. In 2023 alone, they negotiated over 2,500 flips. But they never invest sight unseen, and that's where you come in. As their local partner, you'll learn the ins and outs of real estate investing from the pros. We're talking negotiation skills, market analysis, and the secret sauce to becoming a real estate mogul. You're not just learning, though. You're also earning. We're talking 50 to 75% of the net profit on all your flips. So here's what you need to do. Go to flip2024.com for free information. That's FLIP2024.com for free info. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Your future in real estate starts now.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. Attention fashion lovers. The Walmart Style Tour is traveling across America with a mobile pop-up showcasing the latest women's fashion trends to discover, try, and love this fall. Meet one-on-one with professional stylists for personalized tips and get a personal color analysis. Plus, enjoy free giveaways like engraved lipstick and denim totes while supplies last. Visit WalmartStyleTour.com to find a tour stop near you and find all the things you love today.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own seven-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a seven-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.
So always having an experiment kind of bubbling around, that really helped me. And a lot of those experiments didn't work, but enough of them worked where it made a difference.
Welcome to the Millionaire University podcast. I'm your host, back in the saddle with you today, Brien Gearin. And on this edition of the MU Pod, I am joined by Shannon Jean. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's a podcaster. He's a best-selling author. Honestly, there's not a lot this man hasn't done. He's started 10 businesses. He's sold 4 of them. And I believe he is the master at making money in unconventional ways. So Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Awesome. This is going to be great. So I think what we want to dive into today, I mentioned, I think you're the master at making money in unconventional ways. There's so many different ways in this world to make money. There's so much abundance out there. And I think a lot of us start our businesses as a side hustle. I did that. I started my business on the side and grew it into my entrepreneurial endeavor, if you will. But there's a bit of an art form from going from side hustle into business. And I want to dig deeper on that today with you because you've done this multiple times, 10 businesses, you've sold 4 of them. So I kind of want to hop right in there. Can you share with us a little bit about your origin story? And then let's talk about your first or your best experience in turning a hustle into a business.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. I think side hustles, when I started, I don't even know if that term was around, right?
Yeah.
But I've been doing this for a long time, about 25 years. And, when I got out of college, I really didn't have this big urge to go work for someone else. I had already started doing deals. And when I was in college, I was running a landscape construction company. And, the amount of money I could make, it was amazing to me that people would write these big checks, and me and all my buddies that worked for me. But then I really fell in love with technology, with the Mac, and it made me look so much smarter than I really was with that business, and I could charge a lot more. So I just had this idea, and I was like, hey, I'm going to figure this side hustle out. While my other company was running, making money, I was just getting ready to get out of school. I thought, how do I learn about this technology to where I could, maybe I could start a business with it, but I didn't know anything. Nobody would hire me. I went around all these, in my college town, like, hey, I want to work here. I didn't know anything about this stuff. So I volunteered at a local company. I was like, look, just let me come. Let me just hang out. I'll help you with sales. I know how to sell stuff. And so I got another buddy of mine who's an engineer. We hung out, learned some stuff. By the time, we were done, we'd helped them a lot, 6-8 months. We started this, my first, I would say, big company that, took off. It was a company called Mac Rescue that eventually became Rescue Systems. And they're still around today. And the thing that I learned in that first time kind of taking this side hustle avenue is to follow the energy. It takes a lot of energy to get started. I was pushing like, go, go, go. I'm going to figure this thing out. But it didn't take very long for the energy to kind of start flowing back to me, where I was energized by the concept, by the work I put in, by the results, by seeing things, and I would say when you're starting, don't have blinders on of this is the way it's going to work. This is how I'm going to make money. This is the business we're going to be in. Because when we started that business, I kind of thought we were going to come back up to the Bay Area, and I lived out near San Francisco, and we're going to start kind of a repair business, get into computers. We're going to maybe open some multiple locations, but nothing like that happened. We caught the wave, like Charlie Munger says. The internet was just taking off. The web was starting to go. And all of a sudden, I was connecting with people all over the country, all over the world. And what I realized is that the parts of these systems and all the components were where the value was. It was easy to buy a whole system. You just go to the store, but people had a hard time getting the components. And that opened up, it changed the whole trajectory of that side hustle and built a company, where we ran it for a decade. We were in a 50,000 square foot facility, a ton of employees, and we did deal after crazy deal and kind of learned about the liquidation space and the broken product space, salvage stuff, and doing repairs. And man, it really set me on a trajectory of having a really wide bandwidth of what could happen. And while that first business was running, I started my second business, and then I just kind of kept growing. And they were more experiments, I would say, than side hustles. You call them a side hustle now, especially if you're doing something else and you're trying to get involved. But I have this concept I call the $1,000 brain switch. If you can figure out how to make your first $1,000, the sky is the limit. It's the first money that people have a hard time with, in my experience. When I'm coaching people or I'm an advisor, helping them out. How do you make that first $1,000? And that gives you so much energy back. You're like, man, I could be independent. If something really went wrong, I could figure out how to make money. And I learned that, when I was young, and I just kept leaning into that and putting as much energy behind it as possible. And I've done it a bunch of times. I've just had a great time, man.
So what was it from, you were running a successful landscape company, and did it get to that point? You said it was doing well and making money. So it got to a certain point where, would you say that, were you bored? You were curious? What was it that made you because I could see someone getting to that business and be like, hey, we're doing great. Let's keep doing the main thing and keep making more and more and getting bigger and bigger. Was that part of your plan, or did it get to a point where like, hey, we're doing well, but this thing over here, this looks interesting?
Yeah, you use the key word that's driven me my whole life. It's boredom. If I get bored, man, I love chaos. Chaos is not the enemy. I thrive in it, and I love problem solving, but I'm not a good maintenance person. So, when I start to get bored, I think I've kind of figured it out. And you're right. I could have stayed with that company, done really well, and I'm sure grown it and, had a great life. But there's all these opportunity costs. And if you ignore things that really pique your interest, that's what I've done. I've tried to go down a rabbit hole, and a lot of times nothing would come of it. I would chase it. Hey, I can't really make this work. I can't figure this out. I tried to start. I've started 10 companies that have been successful, but, I'm sure I've had 10 that have failed, that it just never got anywhere. So boredom is the enemy. The minute I start to get bored, now as I learn more and I kind of got more, I would never call myself sophisticated, but as I just got more comfortable and familiar, I did learn to get a great general manager, a great operator, and have them do these things and that allowed me to go while I, was running one company, I didn't have to leave it to go do the next thing. I had my base of operations. And so I said, okay, I want to start a web-based business. I wanted to send my kids to private school. but it was $1,000 a month, and I didn't have that, and so I had an idea for a business, and I told my wife, said, hey, we're going to figure this out. You're going to have to help me. So from 10 to midnight for 2 years, we sat down at our dining room table and we started this business. It was called Deals on the Web. And I met a guy who had a good traffic website, got him involved as a partner, and we built it. So I was running rescue systems during the daytime, hang out with my family till my kids get to bed, 10 o'clock, my wife and I would jump back. And we published this daily edition of Deals because I'm just a deal guy. I love finding great deals. And eventually, after a year, it started making a little bit of money. But after 18 months, 2 years, we were able to hire somebody so we could step back. And then it started generating, I needed that $1,000 a month. But by the time, that business ran for almost a decade and it was generating, our monthly revenue was like 30 grand. So all along the ways, I always had this foundation. It's almost like I had a W-2, right? Because some of these companies, once they got big enough, I just started taking a paycheck and bonuses and stuff. But all the employees get paid before I did. You got to take care of them. They got all this kind of stuff. So you can leverage what you're building, whether maybe it's a W-2 job you have somewhere else. There's always time to carve out of your day. In my case, for that business, we did it at night, 10 to midnight, every night, 2 hours. We just sat down, and my wife was my accountability partner. I was hers. She did this kind of stuff, and it was great.
So how did you draw the line of distinction between, because I think it's really common with entrepreneurs and those of us who have that visionary personality and mindset to get distracted and to maybe, start a business and kind of get halfway through it and then think, ooh, that over there looks really cool. I'm going to go chase that. How did you avoid the pitfalls of losing your focus on what you were doing in terms of developing something to make money? It sounded like you kind of had your baseline and then you were able to. So was that a distinction between how you used your focus?
Yeah, so I don't really I think multitasking is a lie, but I do believe I call it multi-focus. So carving up your day into chunks where it's like, okay, 8 to 10, I'm working on this business, I'm doing this, and then I'm going to meet with everybody that has to go and do these things. And you have to have good people around you to then implement that stuff, right? And then, 10 to 12, you're going to meet this, do this, play around with this project, do this, maybe that's going to work. So always having an experiment in kind of bubbling around, that really helped me. And a lot of those experiments didn't work, but enough of them worked where it made a difference. But I would focus on this experiment for a while. I always give myself, it takes a long time. I have to put a year into a project. When I wanted to start a software company, it was the stupidest thing I thought of. But I was like, I'm doing all the sales and I need these tools and everybody else needs these tools. So I got a partner who I thought was going to be great. And we put some time and effort into it. And it never went anywhere. After about 10, 11 months, I wasn't feeling the energy. I just was like, man, all I'm doing is giving. But my part of that project was to create a ton of content around this marketplace that I was selling on. It was another experiment. And so I had all this content. Our partnership went sideways. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I've always wanted to write a book. So I took that content and I published this book called Poshmark Unlocked. By that time, I had about 300,000 followers on Poshmark as another experiment business that I was trying. And so that book took off and sold like crazy. So it's keeping your options really open. And everything you create has value. It just may not, I almost guarantee that it's not going to come to fruition the way exactly in your head. So keeping my options open, sometimes those shiny objects, yeah, they failed, but you turn what you learned into something else.
Were there shiny objects per se or experiments that you went against your better judgment and dove into, or I guess vice versa? You looked at them and said, maybe gave it a week or so and you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, no, I should not go do that. Did you have any of those types of experiences?
Yeah, I still, I can't help myself. I walk around, I just look and like, how does that guy make any money? How does this work? And I'm, cleaning taking care of my pool in my backyard. And I'm just like, gosh, I should start a pool service because this is crazy, or the maintenance, my gardener comes every week and I was like, I could help that guy. We could just blow this business up, man. And we're in California, so they're like forcing you to convert to electric and battery operated tools for the garden and all this stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. But I can't help. I was like, well, there's an opportunity there. I don't necessarily agree with the policy, but I could start a business that leaned into that idea and got people on board. So I think about that stuff all the time. Do I take action on it? No. Some of it I do. Like one of my businesses, Tech Restore, we had, ran for about a decade, did great, made great money, had a bunch of employees. But I get to that point where I wasn't bored, but I'm not great at maintenance. And so we sold that business in 2017. I was probably a year late. I should have sold sooner, but it was okay. They're still in business. And I wanted to try something new. I said, okay, I'm not going to sell anything with a plug anymore. I'm out of consumer electronics because I'd done that for so long. So I researched and did this shiny object things like, what can I sell? But what I learned is that like my wife, her friends, my daughter, they would go nuts over these like designer handbags. And I said, well, this is weird. I don't know anything about this stuff, right? I mean, I buy my clothes at Costco. So I was like, I'm going to try this out, figure out how to do it. And the first thing I did was I just started buying from other people that were selling just to see the experience and see, are they any good at it? How's their box experience? How's their customer service? How's the sale? How's all these things? And I just noticed that they were not that great, but they were still selling and doing pretty well. And I was like, you know what? I can compete in this market. And so I started swimming upstream and finding where I could buy bags. I started small. It was a side hustle. So I didn't take much risk. I bought inexpensive products and sold them to learn. It's like a muscle. You have to learn how to do it. And so I was investing hundreds and, then thousands, and then learning, oh, I made a mistake. I screwed up. But, within, 3 years, I did like 3.7 million in sales of those handbags, made about $500,000 in profit. And it was just me. And I wanted to do it. My concept was I'm going to sell 10 bags a day, make $50 a bag, but I only want to work an hour. Right. And so on this project, and it didn't work out like that at all. It was, I could sell, because I wanted to make $500 a day, $100,000 a year. And I wanted to be able to talk about it, tell the story. But it turns out as I moved up the food chain, it was way better to sell one bag and make $500 than 10. And so that's what I adjusted to. And eventually, I would just ship a few orders a day. It was a great business until I got bored. And then I was like, well, and then I wrote the book. I wrote that book about it. And then I wrote eBay Unlocked, which is another one. And that hit the bestseller, on Amazon. And, so experimenting with those side hustles is really important because you don't know what you don't know. And I talk about liquidation stuff on X all the time, and that gets everybody excited, auctions and stuff, because that's where have bought tons of my stuff. And it allows you to kind of experiment and understand, like you can invest whatever you can afford to lose, right? When you start.
Right.
And don't go borrow, $50,000 and mess around. Can you go spend $1,000 and see if you can turn that 1,000 into 2, and then put a little bit more energy into it,
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. Attention fashion lovers. The Walmart Style Tour is traveling across America with a mobile pop-up showcasing the latest women's fashion trends to discover, try, and love this fall. Meet one-on-one with professional stylists for personalized tips and get a personal color analysis. Plus, enjoy free giveaways like engraved lipstick and denim totes while supplies last. Visit WalmartStyleTour.com to find a tour stop near you and find all the things you love today.
Ready to launch a career and future you can be proud of? Welcome to Merrill, where an industry-leading advisor training program will help you get licensed. And with lead gen support from Bank of America's vast customer base, you'll get the referrals you need to establish your own practice. It's time to see your career charge forward with Merrill. Apply now at careers.bankofamerica.com. Copyright 2024 Bank of America Corporation.
Well, with the example of your handbags business, I mean, I kind of want to go down a rabbit hole a bit there. This opportunity presented itself and you decide to go experiment on it, put a couple of dollars into buying some, see if you can sell it for a little bit more, and then continue to climb that ladder. What platform were you using? Were you buying from like a wholesaler and then selling on Amazon, or?
So I got interested in it because I have this podcast called Business Brain. We've been doing it for like 10 years. And I had some people, some younger guys on, and they were all talking about social commerce. And I didn't even know what that was. It was like, I'm getting old here. I got to keep up. I got to figure this stuff out. So I started researching these social commerce apps, and Poshmark was one of those. And I was like, man, this is really interesting. All this massive sharing and following and all this kind of stuff. It's very different than eBay, which I've dealt with for decades. So I just started trying to find suppliers. So that you make your money on the buy side. In the product business, it's always what you buy. If you buy right, your sales will follow and you'll do great. And I had some people not quite in that business, but kind of on the side of it. We could talk about my watch side hustle if you want, but so I have this other thing. And so I just started asking questions, and then it took me, 8 or 9 months. And then all of a sudden I got introduced to a supplier, and I was buying from them, and then I was buying at auctions, and then I learned how to buy from overseas. I was buying from auction houses in Japan. And so I spent most of my time buying and then bringing over and learning the process of how do you sell on these platforms? What do these people look for? I had an unfair advantage is my name, is that most of the people I'm selling to are women, and they were more comfortable buying someone with their first name, Shannon. And I always, in every photo of myself on the platform, I always had my wife next to me. So they weren't really sure what they were buying. And that was great. But until I hit like $1 million in sales on Poshmark, and then they invited me to their headquarters. And so I go out there, and they were like, who are you, dude?
Who's this dude?
I think I had a beard or something like that. So it was great. But, I got to meet them. I met the CEO, and the benefit was like the competition was, there's some great sellers on there now that are killing it and do really, really well. And it's gotten much more sophisticated. But when I started maybe, about 4 or 5 years ago with that project, I was selling against people, just most of them selling stuff out of their house, right? Something in their closet. So I came in, I had my photography, stuff I knew from my other businesses. It all stacked up. So I knew the importance of great images. I knew the importance of credibility and offering, hey, if you don't fall in love with it, I had this thing called love it, or just send it back. It's no big deal. I didn't care. And I wasn't behind the 8 ball on money. So it was easy for me to say those kinds of things like, oh, just, you don't love it, take it, bring it back. And so I was able to have a big impact pretty quick, like a big fish in a small pond, if you will.
Okay, that's fascinating. So it's not like you had a background in handbags. The opportunity presented itself. You right? You studied it.
Nothing.
You learned what was right and wrong, or what worked and what didn't work. In areas like this, was this all part of the experiment? Or did you where there's people that you learned from? Were there courses you took, or was it just, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to learn from the school of hard knocks, I'm going to learn what works and what doesn't, and then run from there?
Yeah, I really do believe that courses, guides, coaches, they're valuable. They're worth their weight in gold. I mean, because they allow you to shortcut, what's going on. And I didn't hire anybody to help me with that, but I bought, paid for some guides. I watched a ton of YouTube videos, and I'm a good observer. So I just get up there and I would spend the whole day on that platform. How's it work, and what happens, and what sells, and how do they sell it, and who's the best? Right? Find the best person in that category and copy them, but make it better. So you find the best, and then look and say, well, their descriptions are not good or whatever, or they're shipping, they don't ship, they take 3 or 4 days to ship. Man, I ship in 24 hours. They have 8 pictures, I'm going to have 12. They sell this bag for $500, I'm going to sell it for $479. They have 50,000 followers. How do I get to 100,000? You're just trying to make it better, constantly. My boxes, I'm going to buy these cool boxes. So when everybody opens a box, because your box is like your salesperson, right? This is the only physical contact you're going to have with the e-commerce customer. So the out-of-box experience has to be amazing. So when they open it up, especially handbags to women, which I did not know this, very emotional and can really help them and make them feel more confident and this kind of thing. It's a really interesting concept. And I learned this because they told me. And so when you package something really nice and there's a big thank you note and maybe a little gift, and the feedback you get and the reviews that they leave you. So if the best person on the platform has 300 reviews and theirs is 4.6, well, I want 500 reviews, and I want to be 4.9 or 5.0. So that's what I focused on, and buying better, just buying better and better and better. And then data. I'm a data guy. So I built a database and I track every single bit of data that I can. What colors are most popular? Which brands obviously sell the best? What styles? What sizes? You learn little things like, if you buy bags at an auction or whatever, and it doesn't have a shoulder strap, forget it. It's a loser, because even if they never use a shoulder strap, when you advertise it, that's the one question they're going to ask. Where's your shoulder strap? Where's your shoulder? This kind of thing. So you learn lots of little things. I engrossed myself into this for a year and really learned a lot, so that the next 24 months it was like that whole year I had like pulled the slingshot back, pull. And then after, man, eventually I just let it go, and it just exponentially, went through the roof. It's crazy.
Wow. Is this still a business that's part of your portfolio today?
No, I just got bored. And I had some potential buyers. And so people, I want to buy your business, but my stuff's still up there, and I still have some legacy things. And I donate a ton. There's a great organization called One Purse down in Florida that helps women. And I've donated hundreds and hundreds of bags down to them. And so I was just ready for something else. So after that, didn't do much for a while. I own some real estate. I have some projects that we work on there, some development stuff, but yeah, it's not too exciting. But then I got involved in X, and it went crazy.
Okay. We're going to get to that in a minute, but you had mentioned that you had another business because you got bored, mind you, but it was in the watch area. So tell us a little bit about this hustle that turned into, I'm sure, a booming business.
That one, it's kind of stayed a side hustle because I don't know anything about watches, but I got approached by a company that I was buying some other stuff, and they said, hey, we have a problem. We have this category. It's kind of sensitive. We want it handled in a certain way. And I was like, okay, what is it? And they said, well, it's watches. And I said, I don't know anything about watches. And I said, what, like Timex, Seiko? And they're like, no, like Breitling and Cartier and Rolex and, all these high-end things. It's like, okay. So I knew them very well, and I know how to do research. So after they talked to me, I started on the phones and calling people and getting, going out to New York, going to the jewelry district, walking around, talking to people. And what I found is that nobody would believe me. I had no credibility in that business, right? And they were right. They didn't know me. So I would say, look, I have this stuff. And they would go, no, you don't. You don't have. And it's like, okay, I really do. But nobody would talk to me. So I went back on eBay, and I found who's the best, who's doing the best here, who's selling the most of these brands. And I started reaching out to them. And the same thing, most of them didn't believe me. But I found one person, one guy. And I said, look, I have this opportunity. I don't know anything about this business. I want to facilitate it for my supplier because I'm buying a bunch of other stuff from them. I want to keep that relationship going and help them. So he said, okay, what do you got? I sent him the first list that I had already bought, and he sent his partner out the next day. He flew out from New York and looked at it. Big bodybuilding, kind of Russian, Chechen-y looking dude. And he shook my hand, and he's like, okay. He's like, yeah, we'll take it. And so they sent me a wire transfer. So the issue with this business, the challenge was I couldn't have done it when I was young because I didn't have the resources, because it was a lot. I mean, it was like these watch loads each were like 250,000, 400,000, and it was every week. And these were returns. I'm not buying brand new stuff. I don't live in that world. I live in the scratch and dent, the store return, the overstock. That's where the money's at in my life. And so it was a great lesson in letting other people make most of the money, because what I brought to the table was the relationship, the logistics, and the finance, the cash. I had the capital to pay for these things every week. What this other person had, this guy, Dimitri, he had a watch business, a jewelry business, so he could move this product. And so I didn't need to make a lot of money. And I just handled those three things for them. And he made the lion's share of the profit. And I think we've done about $8 million in sales over the last 7 years.
Wow. So $8 million in sales. I imagine your margins sounds like they're fairly thin on that, but
tiny. For me, tiny. For them, much, much bigger.
Good. But still worth it enough for you to where it's like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the volume. The volume. You get enough, and you can do really well in single digits, margins, because I would get the product, I inspect it, and then I would, overnight it to my customer, and that, I'd get paid, and that was done until the next load, until the next, over and over. And we just did it over and over and over again. And it's been great. It's very different now. The watch market's very different than it was. The watch companies have gotten very efficient, and they're in the secondary market now. So it's more difficult, but still great. It happens. It's just a little less volume. And the key is the opportunity in thinking, like, first glance, you look at this and go, I have no idea. How would I do this? Well, you just have to start doing research and finding people. And I came full circle of, again, it brought me all the way back to eBay, right? Because eBay is just the best laboratory on the planet. And so I found just the best people there, and I just kept calling them until I found the right person that was willing to take a little bit of risk and do this deal.
So you may have answered my next question, but I find myself curious, did each opportunity lead to the next, whereas you were in handbags, and then was it a connection through handbags that led you to watches, or was it electronics that you met someone there that introduced you to handbags, or was it still back to that boredom and that curiosity of, that looks interesting, let me research that? And then it sounds like you just hopped on the phones or email and just found as many connections as you could to get yourself into that market.
One thing does lead to another. You just learn the system. I learned that, like, when I want to meet people at a company that I know they have products I want to buy, I go on LinkedIn and I start connecting with them and see, who do I know that knows this guy? Who do I know that knows this buyer? Every company has overstock. Every company has problems to solve. And if you can help them solve those problems, you can be a hero. When I reach out, I don't ask to buy the best product they have, because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to sell an iPhone because it's like the perfect product. But can you sell me your broken iPhones? Can you sell me just the parts? Can you sell what junk do you have? That's your in. Is like, hey, what do you have that nobody else will buy? I'll buy that. And that's your start. Even if you throw that away. I did that at the beginning of the handbag business. You have to throw them away. I was getting bags that people had like thrown up in, it was gross. But I knew that you're kind of paying your tuition, right? You're like, okay, now they know me. I have their phone number. I know this dude. I can call him all the time and go, hey. And after 3-4 months, you go, man, I bought all that garbage. What, can you throw me a bone? What else do you have? That's how you make it your input, because you're solving a problem. And I was donating those garbage bags, to another group that loved them because they got nothing and they got them for free, and I just wrote them off. So it does lead one thing to the next, but it's more about what you're learning in that process, and having the confidence to get on the phone and call 87 companies. It's like cold calling, but you're doing it from a purchasing side. All my wealth has been built from what I bought, not from what I sold, because the sales come. The sales are easy. It's the buying that's the hard part. People miss it. You have to invert it.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/achieve today.
It's Dua here.
In Leap, I've discovered Flowers in Flames, the new floral facet, the YSL way. It's floral, but in the hottest way, and it's both luminous. It's really such a statement. It's a real ultimate freedom sensation. So, Yves Saint Laurent.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
Which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more. All at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
So you said that's the hard part, and I know why for multiple reasons. But in my mind, as somebody who's done plenty of cold calling in the past, instead of me calling you asking for your money, I'm calling you saying, I have money and I want to give it to you. Like, that's got to be a much different conversation. Am I right?
It is, but you find you get the same excuses why they won't, I don't want to buy your, because they're getting inundated with people that want to buy this stuff. If it's hot, the reason I'm calling you is because I know there's profit in this product, but I'm trying to use a different technique and sneak my way in and sound different than every other call and every other email that they're getting. Right.
Right.
That's the technique.
There's still nuance. It's just slightly different.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work. They only sell you the garbage forever. So finally you have to just go, I can't buy from you anymore. You know, and so you just have to try it out and see. And then I go back to studying who's doing it the best. Who is the best seller in whatever category you want, and just dig into them and pull their data, and track it, put it in a spreadsheet and go, okay, well, that guy sold it for this and this, and where'd it come from? Look at the photos. I mean, sometimes you can look and go, man, that's a Target sticker. How'd that guy buy that from Target? And then you can start researching that. What does Target sell? Well, did you know that Target has a liquidation website where they sell gazillions of dollars of overstock, store return, and excess inventory? You should go buy from them. All that, is a thought process.
Right. It's opportunity begetting opportunity, right?
Yes, correct.
And you led right into the liquidation side. That's where I wanted to chat with you about next, was your experience in these liquidation websites, auction websites. And I'm on your email list, which I suggest everybody hops on that. We'll make sure we know how to get everybody on that list by the end of the show here. But you talk a lot about your auction business now. So let's talk about that one for a few minutes, because that one is really interesting to me, because it sounds like it's something where there's an open field of opportunity, but correct me if I'm wrong, maybe there's not a ton of players in it.
Well, there's a ton of interest.
The
people that will actually take action is very small, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of folks, just like, any starting a side hustle or whatever. A lot of people think about it. Oh, I could certainly use an extra couple $1,000s a month or whatever it is. But will you sit down from 10 to midnight for a year and do it? Most people won't, right? So what I try to show up on X on my newsletter is, here's all this opportunity, and here is how to take advantage of it. You have to be smart in the way you buy. You have to do it in reverse. You have to build out models and spreadsheets that inform and educate you on whether it's a good deal or not. But, I posted today about we were talking about Target, and that's why I thought of this. There's like $39,000 worth of outdoor gear, Blackstone grills, other kind of barbecues, camping stuff, because seasonal arbitrage is a very important part of the liquidation business. We're ending summer here, going into fall and winter. So all these companies have this stuff they have to get rid of, and they don't have, they can put stuff on sale, but eventually it just doesn't sell. So they liquidate it. So you're buying that product in this case, but it was like $39,000. I think when I checked an hour or so ago, it was sitting at like $2,000, and $34,000 worth, and it's sitting at $2,314 right now. Brand new product. So I just say, how could you not make money on this? Right? If you put the time and effort, it's not a passive income, hands off. No, you have to get your hands dirty. You're going to be sorting, or maybe you can hire somebody if your business grows. Now, this is an entire truckload. I would not recommend this for someone just getting started. It's too much.
Yeah, you need an 18-wheeler backing up to your driveway with $30,000 worth of Blackstones, right?
Correct. But you can buy a pallet of this stuff and then experiment with it. Or maybe you buy a pallet of health and beauty stuff. Some of this 2 ounce of face cream for women sells for like $300, $400, $500. It's like, how can there not be money in that for guys like us, right? How can there not be money in that? So studying this stuff and looking at it and thinking, can I sell this on eBay? What does it sell for now on eBay? And how do I sell it better? How do I be a better eBay seller? How do I sell it on Facebook Marketplace? Who does the best? How do I copy them? I can do better than them, right? You take more photos, you get better feedback, you're more responsive, right? You just have to hustle. And so if you can do that, you can create a business, and you can create, I know a guy that I did some coaching with that's, flipping couches and making 10 grand a month, profit, which scares me to death because it's a giant item to do. But there are people doing it. So I like talking about it. When I got started on X, January, I had like 530 followers. And I didn't really know what I talked about entrepreneurship and my businesses and everything. But it wasn't till I really started talking about, I reached about 15,000 followers, I think, by August. Then I started talking about auctions and liquidations, and I hit 30,000 followers the first week of September. And so my audience is telling me what they want to hear and what they want to learn about. So I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out. How do I help these people? And I'll create a guide. I'll do this because I can't answer the same questions over and over again. And then I'll take my book and I'll pull it apart and make it more of a course type format to help you along. And I really enjoy it. It's educating people. Like I said, boredom is the enemy for me. And now I'm totally energized about what I've been doing forever, my entire life. I was buying storage locker auctions when I was in college, with my girlfriend. And so who's now my wife. So yeah, I love dealing with this stuff because it's accessible to everyone. You don't have to spend, even this, this auction, this Target thing has an hour left and it's still at $2,300. So maybe it sells for, I bet you it'll sell for under $5,000 where it kind of should be. But there's other stuff up there on the Costco liquidation site, Home Depot, Target, all these places that sells, things sell for a few $100s. So you can experiment with and play around and put in the reps to learn this stuff because it is a system. It's not, I bought this, it's a great price, so I'm going to automatically make money. It's not that. It's how do you present it and where do you sell it? All that kind of stuff. It's a system.
Right. And you're piquing my interest too, because I love selling on Facebook Marketplace. It's mostly stuff that either my kids grow out of or we don't need anymore, but a couple of years ago, I started getting into it kind of like you are, where I was like, someone's selling this thing. Like I was the free stuff. People list stuff for free. And I'd be like, I'm just going to go pick that up. And cause I know that's worth at least $35, right? Or $50.
Sure.
So I'd go pick it up and then I'd flip it within 2 days. And I'd be like, sweet, that's like, restaurant money this week.
Exactly.
If I want to go take my wife out.
Yep.
But you can put that on steroids and start growing your way up into it. And this is like even an unofficial business in a phone, right? Like it's all done with the phone in your hand.
Of course.
And then a little bit of manual labor to go pick it up or claim it, whatever. And you probably, I don't want to put out bad advice, but you don't need an LLC to sell on Facebook Marketplace go buy a product from a liquidation site. So it's
what you need is a resale permit. That's the only thing you need. And so that's easy to get, just search your state plus resale permit. You can get one. It doesn't cost anything. And you're exactly right. And what I love about that is it takes no money to start. I'm going to have a guy on our podcast who runs I think he's got 3 locations now, a bin store. And he started that way. He's just selling stuff around his house. And then it's like, well, where can I buy more? Because this works. And walk around your house or your garage and what can I sell on eBay or Facebook Marketplace? And what works? What kind of photographs work? What's the best description? That's how you learn. And your risk is so low that if you really put in the time, but you have to make a decision to do it. You can't just want it. You have to decide, I'm going to do this, man. And I'm not watching Netflix anymore. I'm going to not watch every football game on Sunday. I'm going to go out in my garage. I'm going to build a little photo booth. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to learn how to do descriptions. I'm going to research. I'm going to learn how to make a database so I can track all this stuff. That's what it takes. But I can tell you, I have the luxury of telling my story in reverse, which makes me sound way smarter than I am because I'm not. I just don't give up and I chase things and figure out, will that work? Will that not? And as I built up resources, I could take more risk. So you could invest a bunch of money if I'm going to start a software company, which was ridiculously stupid. But then it allowed me to publish a book. And then I was like, oh, this is how I had to learn how to become a book publisher and how does the Amazon system work and Apple and how do you build, what tools do you use to become a best-selling author? And then I learned that and it's like, oh, you could do these. So it's very easy to start, man, is once you make that decision.
I think it's the effect of, there's the term compound interest, but I like to call it compound effort. When you commit to something, you put that effort in, it compounds. Even if you're doing something really tiny every single day towards your goal, maybe it's 5 minutes worth of watching a YouTube video or building a little, photo studio. And then that's your thing you did today. it compounds over time. And I think one of the big things you said, it sounded like just about every business is, you said, I dedicated a year to it and then it started taking off. But it takes that year, that dedication and that effort, and then the compound effect on top of it. And that's what gets you there. I mean, you strike me as a man of massive action. And I think I probably beat this horse to an absolute pulp on this show, but I think it's so true. And I think it's the basis of all entrepreneurial endeavors is it all starts with a single step. You got to take the action. I mean, you're living proof of that.
Yeah. For me, I just never felt like I had any alternative, right? Everything I wanted was on the other side of taking that action. So I walk around, I know they say you shouldn't be materialistic, but hey, I want material things. When I wanted to buy a new truck, I didn't go borrow and buy a new truck. I said, everything I want is on the other side of the next deal. How do I do this? And I still do it even now, and I want to buy an excavator for this property we have up in the mountains. I'm going to buy an excavator, but I'm not paying it with assets. I'm okay. Everything you want is on the other side of creating this thing that is going to sell. Everything, all these kinds of things. It's just a mental trick. But if you teach yourself that, it drives you forward. It's like you have this constant carrot in front of you. I have a terrible case of the I wants. And so I just, it'll either bankrupt me or make me very successful. And thankfully it's done the latter. So it works.
I love that. Everything you want is on the other side of action.
Yep.
Well, that might be a good place to put a bow on this, because you and I could probably go for another 2 hours here. Man, hell of a good time doing it. But I want to make sure I stay within our allotted time here. So Shannon, as we wrap up, if you could distill your experience, maybe all the boredom that has led to all this experience, if you could distill it down into a single piece of advice for our listeners today, what do you think that would be?
I would say, don't be afraid. Push yourself, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. If you're worried about what other people think, just don't talk about it. That's another trick. Just keep it to yourself. Talk about what you did, not what you're going to do. But don't be afraid. I still have fear of trying new things. I mean, it's in all of us. But it'll never be easier to take the action and try it than it is today. Because as you grow and you build, your family, you're about to grow your family more, you are constrained. So do it now. Do it as soon as you can, and just don't let fear hold you back.
Yep. Don't let fear hold you back, and take that action. I think we'll bookend that. I think that ends it perfectly. So Shannon, man, this has been fantastic. I think we have all sorts of golden nuggets that our fans and listeners can take home and take to the bank and go get their entrepreneurial journeys underway or on track, whatever it might be. So this has been fantastic. I want to make sure that all our listeners today can get a hold of you if they'd like to learn from you. If they want to follow you, where can they follow you? Where can they get your book? We'll name your podcast here again, and how they get on your email list. I love being on your newsletter.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I love doing that too. So thank you for having me on. I love talking about this stuff. This is, I could do this all day. So just up on X, it's at Shannon Jean, ShannonJean. And if you go up there, you can see there's a subscribe link right in my bio to get into my Unconventional Entrepreneur newsletter. And that's a great place to start. If you have questions, send me a DM, follow me first so I see your DM, and I'm happy to answer questions, provide resources. I love doing this stuff. And, I have a lot more gray hair than you, so I get to give back now, which is great. And it's awesome, that we're just surrounded by opportunity, man, for sure.
Abundance is everywhere. We got to go find it and take it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again.
Fantastic. Yes. My pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Shannon, you have a great one. I can't wait to chat with you again in the future.
Thanks, Brien.
All right. Big thanks to Shannon for joining me on the show today. I was super excited to have him on because I wanted to learn more about this guy. I knew a good amount, but I didn't have quite the amount of details that he gave us today in terms of all the businesses that he's started up over the years. And I just love the fact that it all stemmed from boredom. And I think as entrepreneurs, we can relate to that. There's plenty of times where in my entrepreneurial career, I've been bored and I've wanted to go start something. I've started a few other things. And it's led to that curiosity and that drive to go research. And one of the points that Shannon made was everything you want is on the other side of action. So if there's something you want to do, if there's a hustle you want to go start or a business you want to create from a hustle, go figure out that action that you need to take and then go take it. connect with people, network, start sharing your ideas, start meeting new people and figuring out and doing the research and getting the thing done, and dedicate that time and create that compound effect. Shannon's a perfect example of the time, the focus, the research, the networking, and compounding that effort into multiple seven-figure businesses. So big thanks to Shannon for joining us today. Super exciting to hear everything that he's involved in. I hope you all had learned a lot from Shannon today. So before we wrap up, I have two things I want to ask of you. Number one, one thing I want to ask and one thing I really want to share with you. We're super pumped about. But first of all, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the link to share button in your pod player. Text this to your friends, your family, your colleagues, coworkers, whoever it is who you think would get a kick out of this show as well. I would really appreciate that. And number two, I want to make an announcement. You may have heard it on past episodes already, but we are launching our first foundational business course on October 1st. The course is live, and you'll have the opportunity to buy in as a founding member. It's called Build My Money Machine. Go to buildmymoneymachine.com. Check it out. Many modules on how to get into the millionaire mindset, how to start and get that first idea of your business into place. This is going to be for those of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs, or maybe you're early stage entrepreneurs, you're in the game. Maybe you've gotten stuck or you've gotten complacent in your business. This is the course that's designed for you to get you unstuck or to get you started. So go ahead and head over to buildmymoneymachine.com. October 1st, we are launching. You will get 90% off if you are a founding member. So hop in, take advantage of that offer. We cannot wait to see you in our community. It'll have multiple modules and coaching calls. So we're going to be in there. We're going to start teaching you how to take advantage of everything in the world of entrepreneurship, all the abundance that's out there that Shannon and I talked about. We want to help you go grab your piece of the pie. All right, that's it for me, guys. Brien Gearin signing off. I cannot wait until we see you again on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. I want you all to go out there and keep crushing it today.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own seven-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a seven-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.